This was when the main newspaper review came out. That after that it sold hundreds of copies. After the review came, the Helsingin Sanomat, major Finnish newspaper, made a one-page review of the work. And after that it sold pretty well for a while. But we get every year, we as artists, we get from Taiste the selling statistic for the sharing the copyright. So what we decided to do in this, which is quite interesting in digital media from writer perspective, I think, is that the Apple iStore takes 35% out of any publishing deal. So you see that, you know, when we have the work and we sell it through iStore, it takes 35%. So we decided that we give the publishing company Taiste another 35%. So then the artistic team, Rasmus, I, Saila, etc., we share the copyright of 30%. But you can see that it's quite interesting in the digital medium that actual artists get 30% of royalty out of all sales, which never happens in book publishing.
Okay,
yeah, I have two very technical or practical questions. One is if you have to update the app, if there is any budget for it, or if it's necessary to update it once the iOS software is updated, because that's my major question to producing apps is like the updating. And then the other question would be this possibility of sharing different lines on Facebook, which I really like, which is really difficult with EPUBs because they will close if you, the EPUB is not read in the browser and then closing. So if you have some sharing widget inside, you lose the book. So I'm wondering, how do you do it? The app does close, or how does it work?
Okay, well, for the first one, Taiste is they're maintaining the code, so they have already actually released some updates.
Okay.
So they have taken responsibilities, and that's part of their investment.
So that's has to be done.
Yeah, it's part of the investment is that they manage that and they take care. They have an interest in keeping it running. And then about the sharing thing, it's actually much easier when you do it as an application, as a standalone application, than in another framework, because there is an API that you share directly. There's a sharing API in iOS, and it's using that sharing API, and then it's basically iOS native sharing. So if you have Facebook or Twitter accounts on your iPad or iOS device, then it always shares automatically those. And it's using that API. It doesn't have its own sharing API. It's using the iOS built-in API. And then you can do that straight through the app just with a call. The only limitation with that is that Facebook has made some restrictions that you're not supposed to have pre-shared texts, and then there were some workarounds that were required to do on that area. But
so the app doesn't close. There's a window that pops up, and you share it, and then you go.
Yeah, it's using the app. Yes, exactly. And of course, I mean, this might change if Apple decides to change how the API is working. So we're sort of tied to that one, but that's a different story.